and gentlemen, to a new episode of Africa Today, where we get you the latest news and events taking place on the African scene. And we will start off with our major top stories and reports. The President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has ratified a treaty establishing the African Medicines Agency that is aimed at assisting African states with having access to high quality and effective medical products. More details.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has ratified a treaty establishing the African Medicines Agency (AMA), approved in Addis Ababa. The presidential approved has been published in the official newspaper to be effective on the following day. In July 2021, the Egyptian ambassador to Ethiopia and its permanent representative to the African Union, Osama Abdel Khali, signed Egypt joining the stature for establishing the AMA. In December 2021, the Egyptian House of Representatives approved a presidential decree on joining the treaty. The AMA is aimed at assisting African states with having access to high quality and effective medical products.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and still with our special reports. Minister of Petroleum and Mineral Resources Tarek El-Molla announced that Egypt is preparing an initiative to develop energy transition in Africa. The story.
Petroleum Minister Tarek El-Molla said Egypt is preparing an initiative to develop the energy transition in Africa, noting that it will be launched at the 27th session of the Conference of the Parties COP27 to the UNFCCC in Sharm el-Sheikh in November. The initiative is being prepared in cooperation with the African Union and African energy ministers, and the session was held under the theme the International Energy Agency Community and was attended by the energy ministers from 44 countries. It was held on the sidelines of the International Energy Agency IEA's 2022 ministerial meeting. In a statement, the petroleum minister said that Molla, in his word at the meeting, stressed the necessity of cooperation, of integration to create the appropriate conditions for the African continent to achieve the energy transition in a balanced way that takes into consideration the continent's requirements and its economic and living conditions. Molla also underlined the global role in providing the necessary financing and technologies to the African continent in order to support it in obtaining clean energy with low carbon emissions. According to the IEA, Africa is already one of the regions of the world most affected by climate disorders and is home to 1/6 of the global population, yet it accounts for less than 6% of global energy consumption and 2% of cumulative global emissions. The continent faces a parallel imperative of extending electricity access to hundreds of millions of citizens who are currently deprived of it, which would stimulate economic growth and help attain sustainable development goals.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Aid agencies working in East Africa warn of a massive humanitarian crisis if the coming rainy season falls short of expectations. The story.
Global food and commodity prices spiking in reaction to Ukraine crisis set to worsen hunger for 21 million people already today in severe food insecurity. As many as 28 million people across East Africa face severe hunger if the March rains fail. With the unfolding crisis in Ukraine taking their attention, there is a real danger that the international community will not respond adequately to the escalating hunger crisis in East Africa until it's too late. A massive no-regrets mobilization of international humanitarian aid is needed now to avert disruption and to help 21 million people already facing severe levels of hunger in the midst of conflict, flooding, and massive 2-year drought, unprecedented in 40 years, in countries across East Africa. COVID-related hikes in global food and commodity prices were already undermining the options available to heavily indebted African governments to resolve the mass hunger facing their people. However, the crisis in Ukraine will have catastrophic new consequences as it already pushes up food and commodity prices beyond what East African governments can afford.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm very glad to be joined over the phone by Dr. Raouf Ghaffar, a political analyst. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to you.
Dr. Raouf, Minister of Petroleum and Mineral Resources Tariq El-Molla announced that Egypt is preparing an Egyptian initiative to develop energy transition in Africa. Would you tell us more about this initiative?
First of all, yesterday the minister was meeting with the president, and the president asked him to work hard on benefiting to the maximum from our energy sources available in Egypt. So this is point number one. So we are developing our production and increasing it, increasing the exploration, etc., so that we can, first of all, reach self-sufficiency as far as petroleum and the products are concerned, and go into export with Africa. Yes. So this is within the context of integration, African integration, and we are working hard for this purpose to join hands with the African countries and try and exchange know-how, exchange expertise, make use of our own resources, maximize them, utilizing continental in Africa, know-how, technology, manpower, etc., so that we can not only integrate the Africa between itself, but to form a big hub for not only energy, but for a lot of other things.
Yes, well, sir, the initiative will be launched during the upcoming COP27 climate summit. How do you see the significance of this summit?
This summit, I mean, is extremely important. Now the whole world is getting more and more aware of the repercussions of the climate change. Although Africa is by far the least emitting continent in the world, but still it suffers most. Yes. So again, we have to direct all our efforts in order to achieve sustainable development and move into the green era, to try and minimize the emissions as much as possible, and transform our continent into a continent that is environmental friendly, and try and fight all the climatic changes that are really representing a threat to mankind. And of course, Egypt being selected to host the COP27 toward the end of this year. Yes. We are working hard on making it the most successful conference of all times, and to have the world join hands in order to achieve this goal, because we have to look after our planet and make sure that it stays as long as possible without damages.
Sir, do you agree that Egypt took the initiative to mobilize all the efforts of the Eastern Mediterranean countries for cooperation and integration under the umbrella of the East Mediterranean Gas Forum?
Absolutely. I mean, the discovery of gas in this region, first of all, it tightened the cooperation between Egypt and Cyprus and Greece. So now we are forming a very important hub as far as gas industry is concerned. We are liquefying gas here, and as we have experienced as a repercussion of the war that is taking place now, there is always the menace of a lack of gas.
Yes.
So we can actually fill part of this gap by simply increasing and developing our capacities and capabilities to extract and to liquefy. So,
Yes.
of course, Egypt will, with the other neighboring countries, form a very important hub as far as gas is concerned in the very, very near future.
Yes, sir, the forum's members adopted a unified vision to benefit from natural gas as the cleanest and reliable hydrocarbon fuel within the energy system, which represents, of course, one of the solutions needed to confront climate change. What's your take on that?
I mean, we all know that, of course, fossil fuel represents a threat. And the emissions are harmful. And whether we are trying hard, I mean, the whole world is trying hard to move into cleaner energy, but still, I think, in my opinion, for some time to come, decades to come, the oil will remain, if not the, but one of the most important energy sources. So we have to live with that, and we have to try one way or the other to reduce the emissions by any means possible so that we can keep our planet safe. And mind you, efforts are being exerted in this direction very strongly, and with such conferences and making the whole world aware more and more of the repercussions of the emissions, maybe we can reduce them and then get a cleaner and more environmental friendly planet, inshallah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Raouf Ghaffar, political analyst. Many thanks for your insight. And dear viewers, that brings us to the end of this edition of Africa Today. Many thanks for watching. Again, stay tuned for more coming up here on Nile TV International.